Welcome, everyone. Before we dive in, be sure to drop your thoughts, feelings, and lessons in the comments below. Like the video and subscribe so you never miss stories like this. Let's get into it. The cruelest thing Ethan Caldwell ever did wasn't the cheating or the money games. It was the text he sent while I was in labor. Let her suffer. I'm not ruining my night. Here's how it happened. My name is Claire Caldwell, and for a long time, I thought love meant swallowing my needs until there was nothing left. We lived outside Columbus, Ohio, in a gray-sided starter home that looked peaceful from the street. Inside, everything felt like walking on thin ice. Ethan loved control the way some people love comfort. Quietly, constantly, and without apology. Ethan was the kind of man strangers trusted immediately. Clean haircut, steady handshake, a voice that sounded like reassurance. He worked in commercial sales downtown, wore tailored suits, and knew exactly how to look like a family man. In neighborhood cookouts, he carried plates and laughed at the right moments. In private, he kept score of every favor. If I asked for help, he'd act like I demanded a limb. "You're always making things harder," he'd say, then go silent until I apologized for needing him. When I got pregnant, I thought it would soften him. I pictured him rubbing my belly, building a crib, showing up with late-night snacks like the husbands in movies. Instead, he treated my pregnancy like an inconvenience that interrupted his routine. He complained about doctor appointments. He hated the baby books on the coffee table. If I threw up, he'd sigh and open a window like the smell offended him. "Don't get all dramatic," he told me once, staring at his phone while I knelt on the bathroom floor. His mother, Marilyn Caldwell, was worse in a different way. Polite cruelty wrapped in a church voice. She'd smile while slicing me open. "Claire, you're lucky Ethan picked you," she'd say, as if I'd been rescued. When I mentioned being tired, she'd tilt her head and ask if I was handling motherhood okay. It never sounded like concern. It sounded like she was building a file. Ethan watched these conversations like a referee who already chose a winner. By the third trimester, Ethan started working late more often. He came home smelling like cologne that wasn't his and chewing mint gum like he'd been covering something. I told myself it was stress. I wanted so badly to be the calm wife who didn't accuse, didn't nag, didn't push him away. Whenever I asked a simple question, "Where were you?" he'd smirk like I'd entertained him. "You're paranoid," he'd say, and I'd end up apologizing again. The night my contractions started, the air felt electric. I tried to breathe through the pain and keep my voice steady when I called him. No answer. Again, straight to voicemail. I texted, "It's time. Please come." My hand shook so hard I could barely hold the phone. I called Marilyn as a last resort, tears burning behind my eyes. She answered with a tired sigh. "Claire, he's busy," she said. "He'll come when he can. Stop panicking." At the hospital in Columbus, the lights were too bright, and the hallway smelled like disinfectant and fear. Nurses asked about my support person. I lied and said he was on the way, because the truth was humiliating. Contractions hit like a wave, trying to split me in half. I kept checking my phone between breaths, watching time pass in cruel little increments. Hours. No Ethan. When I called again, his voicemail greeting felt like an insult. I remember thinking, if he doesn't come now, he'll never come. Ethan finally arrived the next morning, clean and fresh, holding coffee like he'd been out for a casual walk. He glanced at our newborn son, Noah, like Noah was a package delivered to the wrong address. Then he leaned close to my face, so only I could hear, and whispered, "Don't start crying. You look pathetic when you cry." His eyes were empty, not angry, just bored. He didn't apologize. He didn't ask what I needed. He sat for 15 minutes, then said he had to take a call. The weeks after were a blur of feeding schedules, sore stitches, and loneliness so heavy it felt physical. Ethan played the role of father in public, taking one photo with Noah for social media, then disappearing again. At home, he acted irritated by the sound of a baby. If Noah cried, Ethan would shout from the couch, "Can you handle your kid?" Like Noah wasn't his. Like I'd brought a stranger into the house to inconvenience him. Marilyn visited once, looked around, and said, "You're letting things go." The first proof of cheating came in pieces. A hotel charge, a lipstick-stained water bottle on the passenger door, a name saved under a coworker's contact but with emojis that didn't fit. When I confronted him, I expected denial, rage, anything human. Ethan just smiled slowly and said, "What are you going to do about it?" Then he leaned back and added, "You don't have a job. You don't have family here. You got a baby and a mortgage. Be realistic, Claire." It wasn't a threat. It was a diagnosis. After that, he became cruel in ways that didn't leave bruises. He called me unstable whenever I cried. He mocked my postpartum body. He timed his insults like he knew exactly when I was too tired to fight. If I asked about money, he'd tilt his head and say, "You're obsessed." Then I'd check the accounts and see just enough missing to make me doubt myself. He'd tell me I was forgetting things. He'd say, "You're not well," until I started wondering if he was right. He began shaping the story around me. To friends, he said I was overwhelmed and not bonding. To Marilyn, he said I was using the baby as leverage. He started recording arguments on his phone, but only after he provoked me for hours. Then he'd capture the moment I finally snapped and play it back like evidence. When I begged him to stop, he looked pleased. "See," he said, "this is exactly what I mean. You're unhinged." The divorce papers came like a slap. Ethan filed in Franklin County and asked for full custody, claiming I was mentally unstable. He wanted the house because he paid for it. He wanted me to move out immediately, like I was a tenant who broke a rule. When I read the paperwork, my hands went numb. It wasn't just divorce, it was erasure. He was trying to take my son and my home and leave me with nothing but a narrative he wrote. Marilyn called me that night and said, "Don't make this ugly." I didn't have a big family nearby. My best friend, Jenna Harper, was the only person who came over without judging the dishes in the sink. She watched me read the filing and said quietly, "This isn't normal." She helped me find a lawyer, Megan Whitaker, a calm woman with sharp eyes who didn't flinch when I cried. Megan asked me one question that changed everything. "Do you have anything in writing that shows who he really is?" I thought of the nights he texted instead of speaking. I started gathering the truth like it was something fragile. Bank statements, calendar entries, emails. I didn't hack anything or do anything dramatic. I just saved what already existed. I went through my phone and found the hospital night timeline, the unanswered calls, the message threads with Marilyn dismissing me. Then Jenna reminded me about something I'd forgotten. Ethan had texted his brother that night. I searched the old thread until I found it. My stomach dropped as I read the words. "Let her suffer." We authenticated the text the right way, through legal channels, not shortcuts. Megan filed motions. We requested records. We built a clean chain of evidence that couldn't be waved away as screenshots. Ethan kept acting confident, sending smug messages about how he'd win. He never asked about Noah's schedule unless it was useful for court. He showed up to exchanges in press clothes, smiling for witnesses, then drove off without looking back. No remorse, no softness, just performance. On the day of court, Ethan walked in wearing a navy suit like he was headed to a promotion. He saw me at the table and smirked, the same lazy confidence he'd worn for months. He leaned close and whispered, "Try not to embarrass yourself today." His attorney spoke first, painting me as emotional and unstable, the struggling new mother who couldn't cope. Ethan nodded at the right moments, like a man watching a commercial he approved. My chest burned, but I stayed quiet. When it was our turn, Megan stood and said, "Your Honor, we'd like to submit Exhibit 12, an authenticated text message chain from the night Ms. Caldwell was in labor." Ethan's smirk flickered. Just once. The judge adjusted her glasses and began reading aloud, slow and clear, each word landing like a weight in the room. "Let her suffer. She's dramatic. If she needs surgery, that's on her. Don't tell Mom. She'll make me look bad." Ethan stared forward, jaw tight, offended, not sorry. The judge didn't yell. She didn't need to. She looked at Ethan and said, "Mr. Caldwell, your filings claim you are a devoted, stable parent. But your own words show contempt, abandonment, and manipulation." Then she shifted to the only thing that mattered, Noah's safety and stability. Ethan's custody request collapsed. The judge granted me primary custody, set structured visitation, and ordered financial review due to suspicious account activity. Ethan's attorney tried to object, but the judge shut it down with facts. Ethan walked out without remorse, face hard like he'd been cheated. But something had changed. He couldn't control the story anymore. I didn't celebrate. I didn't post anything. I went home to a small rented apartment on the north side of Columbus, laid Noah in his crib, and locked the door. For the first time in months, the silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt like protection. My success wasn't loud or public. It was private. A court order, a safe home, and the steady realization that I could rebuild without begging for love. See you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe.